Yeah, I think it's over because the market is much larger than it was and Bitcoin is not as dominant. So at the margin, the 4-year cycle will have an impact, but not as large an impact. For example, the ETH 2.0 thing is going to create a potential dynamic that's different. So I think the cycles have changed. And I think, over time, these very volatile trends get less volatile. And we saw that with Amazon in its early days. It was like up and down 95%, then 65%, and then it just gets less and less and less because more people are in the network. So it's the same with crypto now. There's 600 million people, 300 million people using it now. So what's happening is the volatility dampens. So, I think the new down 85% is the new down 50, is the down 50 where we are now. So it's kind of like we've had a bear market. We've been in a bear market for a year. Could it go down 65%? Possibly. But, it's unlikely to go down 85%. People have a very recency bias and they only know what they know. And people who've been in the Bitcoin market have only been around, a network adoption model for a decade. So they've only seen a few cycles. But if you go to Facebook, Amazon, Google, they've all had these for decades and you can see how they work. And they tend to lower volatility over time.
So you don't think we'd necessarily have to wait an entire 4 years with that cold winter till we see a new all-time high?
No, I don't. It's possible, but I don't think it's the most likely outcome now. I think, we just need the macro environment to shift a bit. And we've got different players in the market and it's a much deeper market there now than it used to be. Sorry, I lost you again there. Your stream is a bit patchy. I think overall, this is all great. Using Bitcoin as a payment rail. Now, whether it's for, I don't think it massively helps the Bitcoin network because the use of slots on the blockchain is relatively limited in how Lightning works, but it allows it to use to create faster payment rails for certain things. Because look, let's face it, most people, the purpose of Bitcoin is not to buy your goods, or certainly not now. Maybe in 20 or 30 years' time, the purpose of Bitcoin right now is to hold it. And as a store of value, and the last thing you want to do is buy something, some everyday grocery on it because it doesn't make sense because the expected future return is so high. So, but using blockchain rails and Bitcoin rails to power a payment system, I think is great, and it's a fantastic development. And the work that Jack is doing on all of this is fantastic news. But I don't think it only at the margin drives active addresses or value exchange, which are the two things that drive the value of Bitcoin itself.
And I know you're bullish on Ethereum and really just the Web3, the metaverse, the crypto industry sort of as a whole. And if you don't think people are going to want to spend their Bitcoin simply because it's Bitcoin, it's gold 2.0, how do you see the future of payments then? What are people going to be transacting in? Do you think we really will come off the dollar and be transacting on some form of cryptocurrency?
Well, the entire Web3 world currently transacts on Ethereum. Everything's priced in Ethereum. Everything in the metaverse is priced in Ethereum. Does that mean that stays that way? Who the hell knows? I'm no Ethereum maximalist. I don't know. But right now, that's where it is. Every NFT is basically priced in Ethereum. Some are now being priced in Solana. So we don't really know. I don't think the dollar goes away for a long, long time. The dollar is so deeply entrenched. It is the largest network of anything on earth, pretty much. And that's hard to get rid of. But at the margin, does crypto take over more of the payment system in this digital world? For sure. And different things. I think one of the best examples of the use of Bitcoin, for example, has been what Terra has done, using it as collateral. I always said it's fantastic collateral. It's actually not great for payments. Yes, Lightning Network can solve different things of that, but really as collateral, it's fantastic. And that's what Terra have done. It's a great idea. And that we will see more of that. This is only the start of, I think, people using Bitcoin as the collateral layer. Also, we'll see, as opposed to central banks using it, we'll definitely see sovereign wealth funds owning Bitcoin because it's a long duration savings asset. So it works perfectly for them. So those, I think, are the bigger developments that will develop for the Bitcoin ecosystem over time. In terms of payments, we don't really know yet. Stable coins, I think, are still in their infancy. So that's the dollar winning out still, because stable coins are dollars. But for a pure Web3 world, we've seen that ETH is currently the king of that.
So the internet is pretty rough. I just caught the last bit of what you were saying in terms of ETH being, the main driver of that Web3 world. But I'm still interested in the growth of the Lightning Network, and whether you think there's any possibility that just because it is growing so much and we are seeing what's happening with Strike, we could start to see Ethereum perhaps be made redundant in some way. Do you think that's just an absolute impossibility? It's what I hear from Bitcoin maxis quite a lot.
They're just different things. I just don't know. I mean, we don't care if I'm sending you £1 or $1. We don't care what network it goes on, whether it goes on some Ethereum layer 2 or a Bitcoin layer 2. We don't really care. So I think we will be sending money, whatever money, over all sorts of different networks. And the more interoperable this world gets, the more we don't care. You just want your money sent to you immediately. So we're not, Stripe's not really about sending Bitcoin around. It's about sending dollars using blockchain rails. So it's much quicker, dollars or euros or pounds. Same as BottlePay do as well. That's now owned by NYDIG. So I think that's good. And I don't think it's not a competition amongst blockchains. I think different people can offer different solutions. It's essentially creating like a stable coin element of being able to move money around fast. And that's great.
I definitely agree with you. I don't really take a maxi position other than being a freedom maxi, but that's another conversation. So what would you say it is then? Because this sounds so obvious, but what would you say people don't understand ETH and Solana? What are they missing? What are they missing when it comes to ETH and Solana?
They're confusing what Bitcoin is and trying to impose that onto something else. It's like saying, well, the dog doesn't look like a cat and it doesn't purr, therefore it's a useless cat. Yeah, well, it's a dog. It's as simple as that. Ethereum is just not the store of value. Now, Ethereum maxis will say, well, it's going to be this ultra hard currency. I don't really care. Bitcoin is a better solution for that because of its further decentralization and security of the network. So it does a perfect job. Ethereum is not trying to be that. Ethereum is trying to be the open internet, the Web3, the new layer. So again, I think they interact together, and I think Bitcoin is this collateral base layer. Right now, it's not being used as collateral, and ETH is being used as collateral, but ETH has been used as a lot of collateral for all of DeFi, and ETH staking does that. But that's and Solana is just a faster, cheaper version of Ethereum, and it's less decentralized. So that's a trade-off, and that's okay too. And I don't go, oh my God, Solana, why should that exist? It's ridiculous. It exists because people want cheaper and faster, and they don't care about the maximum decentralization. Bitcoin people care about the maximum decentralization. Monero people care about the privacy. They're all different use cases. They're all just different technologies for different things, and that's okay. I just don't see why there's an argument over, well, why can't Ethereum's not Bitcoin? No, it was never supposed to be.
Yeah, that's the thing. I always say, with Ethereum, you said people dislike the fact that by Ethereum maxis, it's being promoted as this hard money, decentralized, truly decentralized hard money store of value. So I guess maybe perhaps that's sort of where the tribalism comes in. I'm not sure. But I do have a couple of things.
Anybody who's extreme in any point of view is always going to rile somebody else up. You won't rile somebody else up if you just say, look, we can all coexist and they're all fine and everybody's got a good use case and the market will decide in the end. I mean, that's it. That's all there is to it.
It's true. The market does decide, because ultimately, I think, when it comes to mass adoption, people will prefer convenience over everything else, right? So, how cheap is this and how fast is this? I don't care. I do care how decentralized it is, but others may not care how decentralized it is.
Yeah, but if you're a sovereign wealth fund who needs to store, $20 billion of Bitcoin or of an asset, then you're going to prefer Bitcoin maybe because of how much security you've got versus other networks. You might take ETH as well because it's pretty decentralized, in the realm of decentralization. It's very decentralized and it has a yield coming soon. So, I can see those two assets being on balance sheets, but Bitcoin is more likely to, just by the nature of what it is.
Yeah, I want to move on actually just a little bit to the idea of tokenization, because I know you're pretty bullish on it. They have exploded, tokens and NFTs have exploded over the last year. Things seem to have calmed down a little bit. The floor price of my NFT, for example, has totally just dropped. I didn't sell at the right time. I'm terrible at selling. So I'd love to get your opinion then. What is the future of NFTs? Like, what is their place in the world? Specifically though, because you know how we look at Bitcoin and we go, yeah, that's the store of value. Ethereum, yep, you're the internet.
Specifically, NFT is the ability to have any contract, unique contract, exchangeable, storable, and recordable. Every single contract. That is a concert ticket. That is a contract for you to turn up and the band to play. That will go on NFTs. It is the contract between you and an artist. I want to hold your art and I want the rights to your art. That is a contract. It will be for insurance contracts. We've seen it in DeFi. NFTs are the massive enabler to attach digital things onto a blockchain